How long would it take to drop from 25% to 15% body fat? Let's say you weigh 220 pounds, want to see your abs, and you're 100% committed. Is it going to take 3 months, 6, more? Let's break it down step by step with math, real timelines, and the mistakes that sabotage most people. Let's start with a guy named Steve. Steve's 220 pounds, 25% body fat, and sick of pretending his oversized hoodies are a fashion choice. He's finally serious about getting lean. Step 1, brutal honesty and some basic math. 25% of 220 pounds, that's 55 pounds of body fat, which leaves Steve with around 165 pounds of lean mass, bones, organs, and muscle. That's with 0% body fat. So if Steve wants to be 15% body fat, he'll need to get to around 194 pounds, losing 26 pounds of pure fat. Not water weight, not glycogen, actual fat. That's the target. Now, here's the real question. How long does it take to burn off 26 pounds of fat? If Steve plays his cards right, and by that I mean stays in a calorie deficit, which we'll discuss shortly, he can lose between 1 to 1.5 pounds of fat a week. Let's do the maths again. 1 pound per week, that's 26 weeks. 1.5 pounds per week, that's around 17 weeks. So somewhere between 4 and 6 months, if all goes well. But here's where most people start daydreaming about six packs and forget the fine print. The math looks clean. Real life does not, because numbers on paper don't account for cravings, skip workouts, weddings, flu season, or your coworker bringing in donuts into the office like it's part of their job. And this is where the game actually gets interesting. Most fat loss attempts end here. Steve has decided to go into full panic mode to speed things up, slashing calories, ghosting protein, and speed dating the elliptical. He's not just burning fat, he's torching muscle too, which means that 194 pound target out the window. Now he might have to drop to 188, maybe even 185, because when you lose muscle, your fat percentage stays high. So you look smaller, but not necessarily leaner. This is why crash diets backfire. People lose like 30 pounds, then realize they still have a belly, and now they are skinny fat. But flip the script. If Steve lifts progressively heavy, eats enough protein, and gets some real sleep, not just scrolling in bed until midnight or until he falls asleep, he preserves that precious muscle mass. Or better yet, he builds some, which means he can still hit 15% body fat, but do it at a higher weight. Same fat loss, better physique, shorter road. Because this whole thing, it's not just about losing weight. It's about what you're losing and what you're smart enough to actually keep. This one is gonna sting a little. You know that smart scale you got off Amazon that proudly says you're 23% body fat? Yeah, they're inaccurate and not something you want to go by. Even that fancy in-body scan from your gym induction might look legit, but in reality, it's often way off. Take a look at the example on screen. If what you see in the mirror is more like softness than shape, chances are you're probably not at 25% body fat. You're probably closer to 30%. Let's go back to Steve. If he's actually 30% body fat at 220 pounds, his lean mass is 154 pounds. To hit 15%, he doesn't stop at 194 pounds anymore. He has to go all the way down to 181 pounds. That's 39 pounds of fat to lose, not 26, which means a longer cut, more patience, and probably more months of frustration. So if you're serious about this, be honest about where you're starting. Dropping from 25% to 15% body fat should take about 4 to 6 months. But unless you live in a controlled lab environment, eat out of Tupperware 365 days a year, have a very flexible job, no family or social life, Real life has other plans. You'll catch a cold, you'll travel, your boss will blindside you with back-to-back 12-hour days, and the next thing you know, you've accidentally inhaled 2 burritos. There will be weddings, holidays, Tuesdays that feel like a midlife crisis, and some weeks you'll do everything right, and the scale will confuse you. That's why you need to treat this like a marathon with pit stops, not a tightrope walk where one misstep ruins everything. This is where Steve's path splits into 2. If he's been lifting for over a year, has real muscle on his frame, and doesn't confuse training with casually lifting while scrolling TikTok, then he's in path A, the experienced lifter cut. Here's what that looks like. 10 to 12 calories per pound of body weight. For Steve at 220, that's around 2,200 to 2,640. Protein 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of goal body weight. That is 155 to 194 grams a day. This combo creates a meaningful enough calorie deficit to drop 1.5 pounds a week without sacrificing muscle. And no, he doesn't need to run marathons or join a CrossFit cult. Just lift 3 to 4 times a week, walk 8 to 12,000 steps a day, and eat enough protein to keep the muscle. Now, what if Steve's never lifted before, never followed a real program, maybe hasn't seen a dumbbell since middle school? Then welcome to path B. And honestly, it's kind of a gift because beginners get something rare, the ability to build muscle while losing fat. A body recomposition. It's like earning interest while paying off debt. Super satisfying and a great way to build momentum. But there's a catch. He has to go slower. 13 calories per pound of body weight, around 2,860 a day. Protein stays the same, 155 to 194 per day. At this pace, dropping the first 5% of body fat might take 24 weeks. But here's the trade-off. He gets stronger, he builds lean muscle, he lays down a foundation that lasts longer than any shortcut ever will. And honestly, that's a win most people overlook because they're too busy trying to sprint through a marathon. This is the part where most people hit a wall and then blame the wall. The first 5 to 6% of body fat, that comes off quicker. Especially if you're starting heavier, you'll drop a belt notch, you'll get a compliment or 2, maybe even spot an ab in the bathroom mirror. But getting from 20% to 15%, your body can start to push back a bit. Your metabolism adapts slightly, you burn fewer calories, even when you're just living, you move less, you're hungrier, you're a little bit moody, and the gym starts feeling like punishment instead of therapy. This isn't because you're doing something wrong, it's just biology. So what's the fix? You can cut calories by a further 5%, or if you prefer and it's viable, add in more movement, an extra 20 to 30 minute walk every day, or jump on the Stairmaster for 20 to 30 minutes after a workout. That small tweak is what helps my clients push through the 20% plateau without feeling like they're stuck in diet purgatory. Because fat loss at this stage isn't about working harder, it's about tweaking things and keeping momentum alive, even when your body starts playing defense. So, how long does it actually take to go from 25% to 15% body fat? Let's talk real world expectations, not fantasy timelines. If you've got a solid training base, you track everything, train hard, stay consistent, 16 to 20 weeks is a possible time frame. If you're newer to lifting and building muscle along the way, expect 40 to 60 weeks or more. And that's if life doesn't throw too many curveballs. Because here's what nobody tells you, because it doesn't fit in a headline. The timeline doesn't matter as much as you think it does. In 5 years, you won't care if it took 4 months or 12. What you will care about is you finally broke the cycle. You built the habits that stuck. You stopped chasing quick fixes and became the kind of person who stays in shape without obsessing over it. This isn't about speed, it's about sustainability. So stop asking how long will it take? Start asking, how do I make this stick? Because anyone can lose fat. The real flex, keeping it off. If you want my help getting to 15% body fat without losing your mind or your muscle, hit the link below and apply for my one-to-one coaching. We'll build you a smart, sustainable plan, and I'll keep you accountable every step of the way. If this video gave you clarity, give it a like, hit subscribe, and stick around for more no BS fitness content. And if you're wondering how to actually see your abs once you get to 15% body fat, watch this next video right here. Have the best day ever, and I'll see you in the next video.